involvement to count our blessings, that we are not alone. Remember the friends and valuable understanding we have gained through involvement with the 6 Streams programs. Please do not hesitate to call on participants to programs for support. It is only a phone call away. We didn't get to one of the topics that we were going to cover, and we'll carry that over until 2 weeks from now, and that is about hate and hatefulness. And here's just a preview of some of the points that we'll discuss and something to be thinking about. This topic is entitled The Godly Quality of Hate. This is from the Watchtower, July 15, 1974, page 442. You have seen the benefit of godly love, but you know how to hate. These very strong words are an expression of godly hate. And you too must have this quality to be pleasing to God. Hate causes a feeling of disgust to well up inside you. You loathe, abhor, despise the object of your hatred. Godly hatred never has as its object our Christian brothers, no matter how imperfect. From Watchtower, October 1st, 1993, page 19, apostates, in reality represent a rebellion against Jehovah. Some apostates profess to know and serve God, but they reject teachings or requirements set out in His Word. Others claim to believe the Bible, but they reject Jehovah's organization and actively try to hinder its work. When they deliberately choose such badness after knowing what is right, when the bad becomes so extreme that it is an inseparable part of their makeup, then a Christian must hate, in the biblical sense of the word, those who have inseparably attached themselves to the badness. True Christians feel a loathing towards those and share Jehovah's feelings towards such apostates. They are not curious about apostate ideas. On the contrary, they feel a loathing towards those that have made themselves God's enemies.
Hey, Lee, can I say something about that? Because I see we got a few minutes. That's really a strong statement to say that if you've decided to stand separate of Watchtower doctrines and their uninspired explanations of verses and what it means and whether they're future prophecies or whether they were just parables back in Bible times, that you've actually made yourself an enemy of God. I mean, it sounds like, you're headed straight to where. H-E double hockey sticks, because you decided to stand separately, or you're not really sure they've got their explanations right on their doctrine. They're always making such strong statements, and then they'll kind of want to go back and retract it and soft pedal a little bit about that. But the other things about they would kill apostates if the law allowed, but the law doesn't allow, so they have to abide by the law. They said all kinds of things that are really inflammatory. I don't think they've ever been held accountable. At least they were in the late 19-teens for what they said in the Finished Mystery book, but some of these other statements they've said in the early 50s Watchtower and the ones you just read, it's like the government's not really held them accountable, at least not in the U.S. But I think the Internet's catching up on them, and people are getting informed now about how they refer to ex-members as even mentally diseased. I told just plain strangers that, and they thought that was pretty harsh to even refer to ex-members as mentally diseased. So people slowly, bit by bit, are becoming better educated about Jehovah's Witnesses and, what their management is really saying.
Yeah, can I get a quick comment in before you close? Yeah, this is a really good book. It's in paperback. It's called The Index of Watchtower Errors. It shows you the hundreds of flip-flops on doctrine and also on prophecies that were made. It's a great book.
JW World News,
it was published in
5 minutes.
1985. There's still some copies around. So if you want to see what
Please, you are now muted. Please, you are now unmuted.
of Watchtower Errors, it's written by David Reed. And I think Rich met him. He's a Massachusetts guy. I hope to meet him someday. But again, Index of Watchtower Errors by David Reed. Great book, great read. You'd never believe in a Watchtower ever again. Thank you.
Thank you, Jed. And one closing comment from the Watchtower, June 15th, 1995, page 8. Yes, the International Society of Jehovah's Witnesses is living proof that hatred can be abolished. It is a foreglimpse of a worldwide program to eliminate hatred and its causes. Thank you, everybody, for their participation, and over to you, Rick.
Well, thank you very much, Don. Thank you for doing the program today. Very good. You did a really good job, you and Don. We're really proud of you. We're glad to have you part of our Six Screens Telenetwork. Thank you, guys. Keep standing tall. Well, we got JW World News coming up next right here on the Six Screens Telenetwork. Lots to talk about tonight. But let me just get in here right now. Let's put this program here right into the archives. And we'll start our new program, JW World News. Now, don't miss this. We got a lot to talk about. I hope we can get to most of it here tonight. We got some really good programming coming up here tonight on the Six Screens. So by all means, stay with us. We appreciate your presence. I know you'll be satisfied with what you have to hear tonight. So let's get our JW World News. Let's just get things keyed up here. We had a little problem. I got some new equipment here over the weekend. So it creates a little bit of a problem. We had a little sound problem in the beginning, but I think everything's worked out now, so thank you for being patient. Okay, JW World News coming up next, right here on the Six Screens Telenetwork.
You're on the Six Screens Telenetwork, earning the reputation of giving all the right ingredients, uninhibited, in exposing the hard, cold facts about the Watchtower Society. And now, the end is near.
Wow, I can't believe it. I can't believe it. Here it is, August 17th, 2019. And we're still on the air, going on 14 years. We've never missed a Saturday night. We are here because you are here. And there's never an ending to the stories, the critical stories that are coming out online concerning the Jehovah's Witnesses. Unbelievable. Well, hello everyone and welcome into JW World News. My name is Rick Farron and I'm coming to you from the hub of the universe, right up here in Boston, Massachusetts. We call it the epicenter of apostasy. Now, before we go on, I just want to give you guys some rules, some more protocol, because we have so many callers that have been coming in as of late. More and more people are leaving the Watchtower. They'd like to get on and listen to real time people talking, so they come to the Six Screens as of late. So just a little protocol. When you want to speak up on the phone, hit *1. I mean, you all know that, but a lot have a problem hitting *1 when they're done talking. And boy, that distracts me a lot. I'm just here in my little studio. I'm the broadcaster as well as the engineer. And so if you could do that for me, that would be really good. Just hit *1 when you're done talking. That will mute you. And then we won't have phones squeaking and tweaking and babies crying, music playing, TVs on, all of that. So if you could do that, that would be wonderful. I want to thank all the people coming in here on Facebook. Now look, don't get upset because I cannot comment. The way my studio set up here, we're broadcasting on three networks, really. Facebook, our Six Screens Video Suite Internet access, as well as our radio telephone line. So I can't, do all of this at once. So if you have some comments on Facebook, leave them for me. And later on, when I get a chance, I'll be more than glad to comment and respond. But boy, I will say this is my night out. I tell you this all the time. This is the best night of the week for me. This is when I get to have all you come in and we can talk about everything that's going on behind the curtains of the Watchtower. Now, what I do is every week I scan the internet. I try to come up with the top stories. And wow, I must say there were a lot of stories this week concerning the Watchtower. Of course, critical stories. We're giving you the rebuttal. We're giving you the other side. Now, the witnesses, they hear the good things. Oh, we have a convention in Texas, and boy, they're bringing $3 million into the community and what have you. But we're here to give you the other side of the story, and boy, do we have a number of stories tonight. So by all means, stay on here with us, and we'll be able to discuss these things with you. The amazing thing that I find is when we first started the program, I told you guys this a million times before, I didn't think that we could even last 2 months talking about the Watchtower. Never mind 15 years. But we're here tonight to do that, and I want you guys to talk as well. I get emails all week long. I forgive me, but I can't even answer them, most of them. I can't. There's so many coming through here to the 6 screens. I want you to know I appreciate all of those emails, and I can only do so much, but I want to tell you, one of the things that people have been saying to me a lot lately is they really enjoy listening to our archived programs in Rick Farron's SoundCloud. And they go back there, they listen to all these programs that we put up, and they are getting attached to the callers. Anne Marie, Dick Borgie, Ken out of Minnesota, Don, Lee, they're getting attached to the callers, and they really love the callers, and they always make mention to me that, wow, that is so great that these guys are speaking up and talking on the 6 screens. So see, it makes a big difference. It's not just me here bloviating and putting out a bunch of stuff and blah, 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 blah. When they hear you, it makes a big difference, and you can help them to leave the Watchtower. So if you guys could muster up the courage tonight and just come in and speak up. Speak up. Don't be inhibited. Don't say, well, gee, what if I pronounce the words wrong? Somebody's going to say what a dummy I am. Hey, look, I pronounce words wrong all the time. So don't worry about that, please. You don't have to be Mrs. or Mr. Articulate. Just come in like we're all sitting around on my sofa. I invited you guys in here tonight, so we're all sitting around the sofa and talking. So let's just think of it as that when you come on and talk tonight. I'm sure hoping you will. And our programs go into the wee hours of the morning. We got a number of programs coming up here on the 6 screens. I'll just get this through, and then we'll get right into the news. But we've got, of course, JW World News right now. And then at 9 o'clock, we have Critical Thinking with the Professor. You don't want to miss his program tonight. He is going to be talking, so much in the news about the Watchtower. The laws on statutes of limitations have been upped in New York. Lawsuits were filed this week. The professor will be talking about those brand new lawsuits. And wait till you hear what he has to say. He studies this kind of stuff, so by all means, listen to his program tonight, 9 o'clock, Critical Thinking with the Professor. And then, of course, at 11 o'clock, we go to Larry John Wayne out in California. He'll be coming at 11. And then at 2 o'clock, we have Wee Hours of the Morning. If you haven't listened to that program and you're getting up tonight and you can't sleep, well, listen into Wee Hours of the Morning. It's amazing. In fact, this is where many of the callers just talk about things that are light. It takes on a different tone. They let their hair down, so to speak, and you'll find it very fascinating, and you'll learn a lot about all of our callers and all the characters here on the 6 screens. All right, let's take a look. Let's see what's going on in the news tonight. It's just totally unreal. This week, like I say, was a big week. You folks have been noticing it as well all over Facebook, YouTube, all over the internet. It's been unbelievable. So let's take a look. First of all, I just want to say a couple of things here, which I think was really fantastic. In fact, this week, Dick Borgie and I went down to Brooklyn, New York. I just want to get this off and let you know what happened. And Dick Borgie and I went down to Brooklyn, New York in search of the infamous man that we know as Johnny the Bethelite. And I'm just going to ask you guys to mute your phone. If you're on with us now, hit *1. Mute your phone so there'll be no background noise. Just do that for me now. I'd really appreciate it. So Dick and I went down to Brooklyn, New York this week. We spent the morning down there. We were trying to at least gather some information on Johnny and, what has happened to Johnny. Johnny has not been on our program since January 19th, 2019. And many people have been writing me, Rick, what's going on? Where's Johnny? And we're going to have a special program coming up next month on Johnny. But we went down to get some pictures and film clips and put this program together. But I'm going to share some information with you that Dick and I did come up with. I'm going to play a few videos here. If you're on our Six Screens Telenetwork, Six Screens Video Suite, you'll be able to see it. If you're on Facebook, you'll see it. If you're on our radio network, you'll hear it, and I'll be able to explain to you what it's all about. But we've been worried about Johnny, and I have to say that I didn't speak much about it here in the last 8 months because I just didn't want to say much because I didn't know much. But Johnny has been missing. The very last program that Johnny did here on the Six Screens back in January was a really provocative, enticing program, shocking program, let's go with that. Johnny was talking about a sex ring involving kiddie porn in the Watchtower. And I put that up on my Facebook page today, and Johnny was talking about how members, high officials of the Watchtower were involved in this. Now, we shouldn't discount this, friends. I mean, just this week, we learned about this Jeffrey Epstein character, right? In jail, he committed suicide. This guy was a pervert. He was a pedophile. And all these big mucky mucks hang around together. He was found dead in his cell because it looked like he was going to start talking about some of these people that may have been involved with him. And, all these higher-ups, all these big corporate heads, and I wouldn't even doubt them. I'm not going to say this. I mean, don't take it to the bank and cash it. But, even members of the Watchtower, they get up there, they start doing things that are not normal. They've been involved in a sex ring, according to Johnny. So we started talking about that and about the DOJ investigating the Watchtower, the Department of Justice. Of course, we got a lot of flack on that. No one really wanted to believe it. We've always had people, oh, that's crazy, Rick. But now it's all coming out in the wash. Look at what they're finding out about the Watchtower this week. Look at Attorney Zalkin that just came in. We'll get into that as well here a little bit tonight. But we'll stay on Johnny. So Dick Borg and I went down. We're looking for Johnny. He's been missing. We're concerned. We really, really are. I figured I'll let the dust settle. 6 months, 7 months. It's 8 months now. And I have so much to share about Johnny that you folks don't know. I wasn't hiding it from you. But Johnny asked me that I wouldn't do it in fear of him being found out about in the Watchtower, which would cause a lot of pain for him. So this is where we are now. We went down, Dick Borg and I, to put some pieces of the puzzle together. Is Johnny still in Brooklyn? That's where he last went. And I'll tell you how we landed up there. And I'll give a little idea of that. But I want to play some clips. First of all, I'm going to play...
Rick?
Yes.
Rick?
Yes.
I'm sorry to interrupt. I was trying to find the right moment. You're on a roll. This is Carrie. We're all in the suite here. And I guess your screens are all blacked out. We can't see you. And they asked for one of us to call in. So
all right. Well, okay. You can hear me okay?
Yeah, we can hear you perfectly, but we just can't see anything.
All right. Well, let's see if I can.
I mean, we can see typing and everything, but we can't see you. It's saying expect a confirmation, 6 screens, and then we see the technician number 2. It's all black.
All right. Well, let's see if I can straighten that out right now. Just hold on 1 second. Stay with me, folks. If you're on Facebook, in fact, Dick Borgie, you on there with us here tonight? Come on for a second. Dick Borgie, come on for a second.
Yeah, I'm here.
All right.
What do you mean?
Well, Dick, just kind of hang in here, be in the background with me, Wood, because we're going to be bringing this up here tonight. I'm just going to see if the people. I'm just going to ask. Can people?
Rick, we see you.
You see me now?
We see you right now.
Okay, now Zeke, technician number 2, that is always going to be black until I put a video up, but you can see me, so just hang in there, Karen.
Not a problem.
All right, good.
Yeah,
Well, thank
you're fine. You're fine.
How do I look?
You look great.
Okay, good. I just want to make sure. I just kidding. Okay, great. All right, so now they can see me. So yeah, we've been going through this. All right, good. So looks good. So Dick, anyways, we're gonna go forward. I got a little clip here. I got a couple of well, Dick, you were there with me. You and I went down. Boy, are you tired, Dick? Dick, you tired? Well, I don't know where Dick went.
I muted myself.
All right. Okay, that's good. Okay, we're going to play some...
Okay, Rick.
Yeah.
Now there's no sound in the studio.
No sound?
We have you, but we have no sound in the studio.
Well, something is radically wrong here. Let me see why. I'm not sure why. Okay, let's try this. 1, 2, 3, testing. 1, 2, 3, testing. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, testing. I think you can hear me now. 1, 2, 3?
Not yet.
All right, let's see what we got. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. How's that?
All right, we're good.
All right, let's go with that. So let me know, Carrie. You stay in there, let me know. We got some new equipment here at the 6 screens. And it's a new computer setup and what have you, so it's getting a little bit at times confusing when we first come on with it. So thank you. just let me know. Just if there's any issue at all, Carrie, on the video suite, just step in and just tell me. Just interrupt the call and tell me, okay? Good.
Yeah, I didn't want to interrupt because you were on a good roll there. But everybody was getting a little anxious.
Oh so. Yeah, no, we've got. Well, you let me know. You be my little engineer in the 6 screens video suite here. So you let me know. Just jump and say, hey, Rick, man, we can't see you, we can't hear you. Okay, so let's do that. All right. So, anyways, all right, let's take a look. So Dick Boyd and I went down to Bethel, Brooklyn, Bethel. Of course, they're all out of there now. But according to Johnny, there's about 50 Bethelites that were left behind, and so we were trying to find some of them. But I figured what we do, I want to show you something. If you're on the 6 screens video suite, I want to show you the World Headquarters of Jehovah's Witness where it used to be. Of course, it's all painted over. So let's first of all, let's put that video up. So let's put it up, and if you're on our 6 screens video suite, you'll be able to see it, and we'll describe it to you. So just let's go one step at a time here. Let's duplicate it. Let's put it up so you can see it. And this is Dick and I down in New York in front of the World Headquarters.
Today is Thursday, August 15th, and Dick Boyd and I came down to Brooklyn. We're in search of Johnny the Bethelite. Of course, that's the old Watchtower building. It's now owned by the Trump business people. But there it is. It's all painted in different colors. You remember before it was like kind of a tannish color, but now it's gray.
That's the World Headquarters. It's showing it used to be a tan color. Now it's kind of a grayish blue.
But no longer.
So you can see it.
Stay with us. We get more coming up here on the 6 screens. And we're showing you more video as we go along. But we're in Brooklyn, New York, right outside the former World Headquarters. We're going to go over to the coffee shop. We hope we can find.
If you're on the phone, it's the whole building has been transformed over. The 25 Columbia Heights doorway has been all cleaned up. New glass, new gates. Stairs all cleaned up if you can't see it, but yeah, I think you can see it on Facebook. So.
The old entranceway to the World Headquarters of Jehovah's Witnesses.
All right, well, I just wanted to show you that first. So those on the 6 screens video suite and Facebook, I wanted you to see that. I thought you might find that kind of fascinating. So that's what it looks like now. Dick Boyd and I were just down there back in 2014, standing in front of the World Headquarters. It was altogether different, but it looks a little bit different today. So anyways, what we were doing, we went down to Brooklyn to try to find out if we could find or at least get some information. I wasn't expecting to find Johnny per se, but I'm just wondering if he's still there. Is Johnny the Bethelite still there at the World Headquarters? Is he still left behind taking care of some of their property? Well, let's play another video I got right here. Let's play this one and see what you think. This is Dick Boyd standing out in front of a coffee shop Johnny used to go to.
Outside there, well, Bethel used to be right on the other side of this coffee shop. And to my knowledge, this is where Johnny the Bethelite did his programs, Jehovah's Underground. course, he couldn't do it at the world headquarters, but this more than likely is it. The coffee shop where the Bethelites would come. Johnny would come here on Saturday nights, many Saturday nights, and do his program, Jehovah's Underground, on the 6 screens. That's Dick Borgie. Dick Borgie and I are down in Brooklyn today trying to find some information on Johnny. We have not heard from Johnny for the longest time. But we're going to go into the cafes, we talk to some people, see if they can give us some insight on perhaps knowing Johnny or ever seeing him in here doing his broadcast. We're trying to get in touch with Johnny, the infamous Bethelite. We know that he has not been in touch with us for like 8 months now. We're going to be doing a special program coming up in September all about Johnny the Bethelite. But we wanted to come down. He's missing in action. And of course we just came from 25 Columbia Heights, which would have been, of course, the world headquarters of Jehovah's Witnesses. They're not here anymore, but there are a few Bethelites who have been left behind. Hopefully we can get a chance to talk to them. So let's go in the coffee shop and see if we can't find some Bethelites to talk to the people about the infamous Johnny the Bethelite.
Well, that's Dick Borgie standing in front. Of course, Dick does the Semper Fi program here. He's a good friend of mine. We went down to Brooklyn. He's standing in front of the Cranberry Coffee House. Now, this is more than likely the coffee house that Johnny went to, in fact, even broadcasted from. So Dick and I, playing the detective, so to speak, we were looking around trying to find out if anyone's seen Johnny, anyone hear from him. Now here's the awkward thing, friends, and put yourself in our shoes. I don't know what Johnny's real name is. You know, for 7 going on 8 years, he never told me his real name in fear that somehow it would get out on the 6 screens. He'd be identified and then disfellowshipped. I didn't have Johnny's telephone number. He could call me, I couldn't call him. All I knew is Johnny the Bethelite was 6'4", light-colored hair, a young man in good shape in his late 20s, mid to late 20s. That's all I knew. That's not much to go on. And what's really disappointing is, you know, it's sad because I got to know this young man, even though I never met him. And I told you that. I never met Johnny the Bethelite, but I got to know him from him coming on our program. He had his own program called Jehovah's Underground. And at the same time, he would call my wife Susan and myself, I would say at least once a week. And then sometimes 2 and 3 times a week off of the radio program and tell us many things that he did not want us to share with you. Now, in September, when we do this special program, a 2-hour special program on Johnny the Bethelite, I'm going to give you some of these things he said, not trying to hurt him or in any way bring bad things upon him, but it's really disappointing. It's very frustrating. It's like he was my own son, and I'm thinking maybe we may be able to get some tips. But I'm going to share with the audience in September that some of the things he said, because so many people were naysayers and, oh, Rick, you know, you're making this up. Friends, I was not making this up. A hoax can't go on for 8 years. So I'm really concerned, very sad. And so in September, what we will do is we'll go deeper into it, and I'm going to share some things on that program that he mentioned to me. I mean, after 9 months, I think the smoke is cleared. Something is wrong with Johnny the Bethelite. Now, there's different scenarios. We could look at 4 different scenarios. One scenario is Johnny was somewhat sick all the time. I never told you that. He didn't want me to tell you that. But he suffered from pneumonia. He suffered from kidney stones. He was in the hospital a number of times. He could not come on and do his program. I did not want to divulge that information because, you know, I did not want this man to be caught by the Watchtower. So I do know that. And also the other thing is he could have, like I say, maybe he's in the hospital now suffering. Another thing that I think would be worth mentioning is maybe somehow he's being held hostage. Now, let's not go overboard with this. I mean, I don't think anyone has a gun to Johnny's back. But this week I did learn from a very reliable source that in the tower, at the Watchtower compound up in Warwick, I got information from a man that is an electrician at the world headquarters. He's a PMO. He doesn't believe anymore what the Watchtower is teaching, but he's staying in because he's afraid someone is going to, all his family will disconnect from him. So he was doing some electrical work in the tower, and
Press 1 to mute or... Please, you are now unmuted.
Okay, sometimes I'm going to disconnect because there's so many people coming in tonight. Sometimes I get knocked off because of the volume of callers coming in. But this man who is an electrician at Watchtower Bethel, he confided, he said he was up putting some lights in the tower. There's a padded room. Now, I know you guys are going to go, oh, Rick, there you go again, sensationalizing. I'm not sensationalizing. He put up a picture of some type of the padded room in the tower. Now, I just want to bring this to your attention. He went to the Watchtower and asked them, well, why is this padded room there? This is something that's disturbing. And the man simply, the Watchtower person simply said that, there's a lot of people that have problems. They're on medicine. Sometimes they flip out. They have nervous breakdowns. And they don't know what to do with them, so they put them in this padded cell. Let's go with that. In the tower at Warwick. You can believe it or not, but I mean, it's possible that maybe this is where they might even hide people. I mean, don't take it to the bank and cash it, because I don't know, but I do know one thing. The Watchtower is an evil organization. Okay, so that's another scenario. And being held somewhat hostage. Johnny, you've got to calm down a little bit. Yeah, we know you've been on an apostate website sharing information. We're going to confine you and keep an eye on you. That's a possibility. I wouldn't rule it entirely out. It's remote, but I wouldn't rule it out. Number 3, I'm thinking that Johnny could have gone back into the Watchtower. Maybe he, said, that's it. He's got all of his relatives are witnesses. He has a brother and sister that are there at Bethel. And he just probably figured that, this is it. I can't quit. I can't get out. What am I going to do? But that is not what I would say happened. We were such good friends that Johnny would have at least called me and said, Rick, or call my wife Susan and said, Susan, Rick, I'm going back in. I love you guys. So just I want you to know that that's what's going on. We haven't heard. But then the other thing. The 4th thing is the thing that I fear the most. Johnny could be dead. Johnny the Bethelite could be dead. I mean, this is so much out of character. If you have a person that's contacting you every week, and then all of a sudden, boom, everything drops, you don't hear from them, 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, what do you think? I mean, something's not right with that. So, I can just say that perhaps Johnny died. And now, it could have been an accident. He could have died of health reasons in the hospital. And nobody knowing me, that I was Johnny's friend, well, I would never know about that. So you can see the predicament that I'm in here and wondering about Johnny. Or also, he might have been in an accidental death. Could have been hit by a bus down in Brooklyn. That's a possibility. And I mean, even some people have said that, geez, Rick, that last phone call he had on your program, he talked about this sex ring with kiddie porn, high officials of the Watchtower. Could something have happened to him because he exposed this? I don't know. But there's 4 possible reasons. So what I want to show you, then I'm going to open up the lines and do a few questions here, but I want to show you another video. We went into the coffee shop and talked to a young lady in there about Johnny. And all we were trying to find, what I was trying to do is see if anyone has seen this man. I gave a description. Has anyone seen this man? Then we can kind of say, well, he's not here, and kind of put pieces of the puzzle together, just picking crumbs up on the trail, if you would. So let's take a look at this last video. Listen in.
Anyways, we're in the Cranberry Coffee Shop?
Yes, Cranberry.
And we're right outside where the world headquarters of Jehovah's Witnesses used to be.
Yeah.
And we got to talk to this fine young lady, and she said a lot of the Bethelites came in here, huh?
Yeah, we used to have a line of them for breakfast, lunch.
Oh, yeah. Now, there was a Bethelite that used to come in here. He did like like a radio program Saturday nights. You ever work Saturday nights at all?
No, I'm off the weekends.
You're off
I
the
don't have
weekends,
that
so you
one
know.
yet.
But you remember a tall guy, about 6'4", light hair?
Yeah, he used to come in here too.
He did?
Yep. He used to get some.
Very tall, blonde hair?
They were all pretty nice.
Okay,
I miss them so much.
okay, well, you see, we call him Johnny. He's a friend of mine, but I haven't been able to talk to him. And I don't know if that was his real name even, but he's a friend of mine. I'm out of Massachusetts.
Oh, wow.
But you do remember tall guy, Bethelites, young kid, probably in his mid-20s or so?
Yeah.
Somewhere, all right. Well, thank you.
No problem.
Thank you.
Let
Appreciate
me know
it.
we missed them.
All right, good.
Well, there you go.
1, 2, 3.
Well, there you go. I mean, there's a young lady working in the coffee shop, the Cranberry Coffee Shop, right there in Brooklyn. A Watchtower is right behind them. It's in walking distance. Probably take you 5 minutes to walk to there. But that's where the Bethelites went. She did know of a man 6'4", young man, light-colored hair that would come in there quite frequently. Friends, we nailed it there. I have to tell you, that's Johnny the Bethelite. So, but she hasn't seen him for a long time. So it doesn't appear as though he's there. So what happened to Johnny the Bethelite? That's I wanted to bring this up tonight. We're going to have a 2-hour special coming up in September. I get sound clips, and I'm going to share things. It's still a little early yet, but I figured after 9 months, I'm going to share some things to see if we can't bring some light to all of this. If you'd like to speak up and say something, hit *1. You're on JW World News. Go ahead. Hit *1. Don't be bashful. You want to say something?
Hello, Rick.
Yeah, let's go. The lady first, and we'll go with the man. Go ahead, sister.
No, I just wanted to thank you for taking the time and the trouble, especially with all you're dealing with, to go to Brooklyn and look for Johnny. I know a lot of us have been concerned. Thank you, Rick.
Well, you're very welcome, Anne-Marie. I think Thomas is next. Go ahead, Thomas.
Yeah, this is me here in Lawrence, Kansas here. Well, I know I wish somebody could have, met up with him, quite a while ago, but I know it's hard to get away, but boy, it would have been nice. You just never know about something like that. Hopefully, somehow we can find out at least, what's going on with Johnny. Is he still around? Hopefully, but it'd just be nice to get closure on it. It'd be nice if we could have met him, some of us. I would have really liked to have met him myself. I could have, gotten down there. I really thought a lot of the guy. I have a special place in my heart for him. He really was a really swell guy.
Well, you're absolutely right, and I mean he took a risk every time he came on, and we're gonna be able to talk more about him. And it hurts. In fact, it brings little tears to my eyes even bringing this up. I miss him. I really, really do miss him, calling me and talking to me and letting me know what's going on in Bethel. And he shared a lot of things with me that he could never share on the air. But I'm going to share some of those things. I don't know where he is. And the reason why I'm doing this program tonight, or at least bringing this story up on JW World News, is hopefully we can get some tips. Maybe one of his friends used to call them the posse. He used to say they would listen in. So maybe somebody will listen in and give us some insight. So, you have to put some feelers out, and maybe something can happen from that,
Yeah, I'm hoping that maybe some of his Bethelite buddies might come on there. He had some people that felt the same way he did,
Well, that's exactly right, Tom. That's exactly right. Well, thank you for checking in. Thank you for your current concern. I appreciate that, Thomas. Thank you.
Sure.
Okay, who else?
I'd like to.
Go ahead, Dick.
I'd like to say
Yep.
Johnny the Bethelite was an elder, so he did a lot of speaking engagements all around the Bethel area, Brooklyn area. So if anybody out there is a Jehovah's Witness or a Bethelite, and you knew of a blonde-headed guy, 6'4", that's pretty distinctive. Not too many people grow that tall. And you know this guy's name or anything that happened to him, please, call 6 Screens. Let us know. Well, you can do it anonymously. We'll never tell anybody. You don't have to give your name, but if you know about Johnny the Bethelite, maybe his first name isn't Johnny, don't know. But if you know anything about a 6'4" guy in his 20s giving talks at your Kingdom Hall, please call 6 Screens. Just leave us a message. You don't have to give your name, but please let us know. And if Johnny, you're out there, help you, brother. We really want to talk to you. Thank you.
Well, there you go. Thank you, Dick Borgie. Who else would like to speak up right now? You're on 6 screens, JW World News. Go ahead.
Oh, yeah, Mr. Farron.
Yes.
Hey, hello, my friend. Jay from New York.
Okay, let's go with Ken. Let's go with Ken first, and we'll bring Jay in. Go ahead, Ken.
How about Jay going first, okay? I just got through talking to him. Jay, you go first, please.
Okay, you insist, my brother. Thank you. I feel bad. Do you have? Is there any photograph on this, Johnny?
No photograph. I do not know what he looks like. He sent me a Bethel card at one time, and of course the picture was obscured, blurred over, so I can't really see. But a light-haired guy. He told me he was light-haired, whether he's blonde or light brown, I'm not sure. But he told me he was 6'4", in good shape, Italian ethnicity, and that's all I knew. That's all I could go on. I sound like, crazy, because I'm looking for a man I never met. I don't even know his real name, but I'm going to reveal some facts coming up in September that we may be able to put more pieces of the puzzle together. So that's all I know, Jay.
You didn't have any congregation you knew he was assigned to, did you?
Well, I do know he was assigned to a number of congregations, 4 congregations, and but whether they would speak up to me, I'm not sure which ones they were. And there's a number of them around, in as you well know, in New York. You live there, so even that is kind of a. And even the other day, we were going to go to the police station, Precinct 84, Brooklyn, New York. We had that all on our schedule to do, and we started out going to the police station, and they were working on a road construction-wise, and it was just a real nightmare, and the clock was ticking, and I had to get back here to Massachusetts. Normally, I can go down to New York in 3 hours and 45 minutes, maybe 4 hours. It took Dick and I 7 hours to get home. So it's not like it used to be. So yeah. So when we come on in September, I will have by then have contacted the Brooklyn police. Whether I got to go back down there again and get them on the phone, I'll have some answers from them on missing persons. Yeah.
The 84th, right downtown Brooklyn. It's right. It's the 84th is where Barbara used to live.
Is that right? Yeah, right down there. And they were doing construction on the road, and it was a real. If you want to talk about a traffic jam, that was it. Yeah. So.
Yeah, I want to thank you for all the information from Johnny. The other thing I wanted to say. I was surprised that this past Tuesday, I think I tried to leave you a tidbit or something with Facebook, but we had running regarding the Jehovah's Witnesses on NBC, constantly telling about the 1-year law that says if you've been abused as a witness, starting this past Wednesday, you have a year. There's no time frame. At any age, you can report the elders that did it to you. You may not get compensation, but they'll put it on the record. They'll put their name on the record, and then they'll investigate it down the road. So I'm just putting down. Como was kind enough to open up the cases, and actually I found out from my friend Ken that there are 400,000 sex molesting cases are active now because of this new law, because of Governor Como. So God bless him. And this will help to make the Watchtower collapse eventually. Thank you for your time, Rick. Thank you, buddy.
Well, you're very welcome. You're very welcome. So go ahead, Ken. Do you have something to say as well?
Oh, yeah. I just talked to Jay there a little while ago. I got interrupted by the phone call. What's the deal? What's the update on Johnny the Bethelite? He's just missing right now?
Yeah, well, we just went through that. He's missing right now in action, so to speak. We don't know where he is. Dick and I were down the other day trying to get some answers, see if he's still there, if anyone knows him. He hasn't checked into the program, so it could be a number of reasons, as we cited earlier. Yeah, so that's what's going on, Ken. Yep.
Okay, well, thank you very much for the update. We'll just keep listening here, so.
All right, well, there you go. Well, thank you very much. Any other thoughts on Johnny the Bethelite? And friends, we'll bring you more information on Johnny. And by all means, in next month sometime in September, we're going to do a 2-hour special all on Johnny. I got a bunch of sound bites we're going to play. I've got a number of things that he said that came to fruition. identifying him as a real Bethelite, and I think you guys will find it very fascinating. So if Johnny's out there or anyone that knows him, by all means write me, let me know at jwworldnews@gmail.com, and maybe we can put this whole thing to rest, and we pray and hope, Johnny, you're okay. All right, well, that's Johnny the Bethelite. I had to bring that up a lot.
Hey, Rick?
Yes.
Hey, Rick?
Yes.
Rick, hi, this is Shirley from the chat room. Remember that caller that sometimes she comes from the chat room? Her name is Jacqueline?
Yes.
And sometimes I think she has some brothers in Elder or in Bethel, and she always has all this information about certain things going on.
Yes.
Maybe she knows something about Johnny, because I know a couple of years ago she was saying something about Johnny to me personally over the phone. Like she had some info, and some other people, what she told me, she told them the same thing. So maybe she would know something.
Yeah, well, what I'm going to do, that's why I'm having the program here tonight, Shirley, is to kind of open it up a little bit, get people thinking, open up some spaces here. Maybe people can say, geez, well, I remember this, that, or whatever. So, and then our program comes on in another month in September. We're going to be able to address some of these issues, and by then I think we'll have some tips, so maybe more to report on. So, but thank you, Shirley. I'm glad to hear from you tonight. You made my night. I'm glad to see you called in. Thank you.
Yeah, because I do remember her for about 5 or 6 or so years ago. I spoke to her on the phone, and she told me something that I know I posted on the chat room a couple of years ago. So some other people, basically, she said that Johnny was in prison or in jail, which sounded absurd to me. But that's what she was saying about 5, 6 years ago or so.
Well, I do remember that, and she said that I don't think she totally believed Johnny. At that time, we had a lot of naysayers come through here, but I think what Jacqueline was saying, and just correct me if I'm wrong or anyone out there, I'm not sure, but from what I remember her saying, is that Johnny was a person that was in prison, being held hostage, and he was just using the 6 screens as a venue to exploit us for something. But I mean, if that was the case, he never did exploit us. I mean, if he came on for 8 years, I could...
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So there never was any... He wasn't trying to get anything. He wasn't being paid to come on, or, okay, Johnny, you get $200 this week. I mean, he wasn't asking for money or anything. There is one time, and I'm going to share with you, I can't say it tonight, but I'm going to let one more month go, because I said I want 9 months to pass, and I'm going to spill the beans. But on our September special program coming up, and that's why Dick and I were down there this week trying to get pictures and video and everything else to put this program together. But at one time, I did send him some money. Not a lot, a couple of $100 for a very valid reason. But I mean, in 8 years of coming on, I mean, that's not a lot of money. And I'll share with you why I sent it to him, okay?
Right. So maybe you have that address, or was it a P.O. box, I'm assuming?
No, in fact, it's funny you say that, but thank you. Thank you for bringing that up. It's another thing I might try to hunt down here. But I had to send it to a address in the Bronx, New York.
Okay.
And this was a so-called friend of his. But I had to use fictitious names because his friend would pick up Rick Farron of the 6 Screens and all that. So I had to send it through a fictitious name and get it to him because he really needed it for a very specific purpose. And then when he got that, I'll go into it in September. But yeah, in fact, I've been researching everything I possibly can, Shirley, to try to find out more about him. Thank you.
Right. Okay. All right. Thanks, Rick.
Yeah. Well, there you go. Yes. Okay, we got. I think it's Anne Marie. Go ahead, Anne Marie, first.
It's okay. Let the brother speak. I can wait. No problem.
Okay, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Anne Marie. I'll wait.
Oh, Jay, you are too awesome for words. Rick, again, of course, I always thank you. You know how I've always, enjoyed talking to Johnny whenever he would come in, and I try to talk to him. And one thing that always struck me is the tiredness and the weariness and the emotional strain that was so evident in his tone. And I know there are a lot of people that poo-poo Johnny and that, but I think if we just look at the evidence in my mind says that he was a very genuine I'll say undercover hero for all of us who really don't know what goes on behind closed doors as well as the Bethelites do who are awake. And I've been thinking a lot about how suddenly he just wasn't there, and I keep going back to your post. You posted the last show he did when he came on January 19th, 2019. It's on your SoundCloud, and I've listened to what he said several times, and it concerns me, and in my mind, I don't want to sound like a conspiracy person, but I just look at what I know, and I know that's the last time he came on, according to what we know, and listening to him talk about the discovery of the higher-ups, the mucky-mucks, if you will, of the Watchtower being involved with some sex ring, maybe a child pornography ring, I don't know. But he said it was on the dark web, which it gave me the creeps when he described it. And then all of a sudden he's just gone. So I'm wondering if that might have something to do with why he just disappeared, because nobody just disappears. It just is made to look that way by those that did something to him. That's just my gut. And I just wanted to encourage everyone, take the time to go to Rick Farron's SoundCloud and look up January 19th, Jehovah's Underground, and listen to Johnny's call, his last call to the 6 screens, and listen to what he says carefully and see if maybe you could come up with thoughts. And please, anybody who knows anything, call the 6 screens. Please, you can page or message Rick on his Facebook page, please, if you know anything about Johnny. Thank you so much.
Well, there you go, Anne-Marie. Yes, Jay?
You had paid for a van, if I'm correct, to bring him to New York at a certain point. Isn't that correct?
Yeah, I won't get too deep into it, but he was he was up in Warwick, and he was stuck up there. He wanted to get back to Bethel, and he mentioned to me, I'll give you a little bit of skinny on this. He mentioned to me that the Department of Justice was going to be coming down on the Watchtower for producing some films. They wanted to know. They were very, light, easy-mannered emails that he intercepted from the Department of Justice, United States. They were asking the Watchtower what was in some of these videos they're playing at conventions. And because they thought some of these videos might be somehow raising some tension among the witnesses. So consequently, he knew they were coming in. So what he mentioned to me is the Watchtower wanted him to edit some of these videos. Now, I never shared this with you guys, but it was bothering his conscience that the Watchtower wanted him to edit some of these videos for conventions. And he thought that he might get in trouble for that. He thought that, the Justice Department would indict him as well for doing it. So he had to get out of there, and the 3 other Bethelites with him that had to get back to Brooklyn. So they got a special pass from a high official that is a PMO in the Watchtower. They don't believe all of this anymore, but they gave him a pass to get out of there, and he needed $200, $50 a piece for the bus tickets. So I bought the bus tickets. And the last week he got back to Brooklyn, and that was the last program he did, and we haven't heard from him since.
And what day was that? Do you remember?
January 19th.
I have a funny feeling since he was in the IT, I wouldn't put it past these governing body to be producing, child pedophilia films. Forgive me for saying it, but nothing surprises me. That especially when they'll spend $1,000 to buy whiskey, and they have nothing better to do. They're not pushing the truth. And maybe he saw something that he couldn't believe that that hurt his conscience. He was a really good brother. He was extremely sensitive. I think he got too close to the nerve sometime. And finally, when that sister was, she died, the one that had been like a whistleblower, and she committed suicide, allegedly. These are. I don't put it past the Watchtower for doing cover-ups. I hope you don't mind me saying that. I wouldn't put it past to them for committing felonies, to be blunt with you.
Yeah, well, I didn't say it, but I'm glad you said it. I thought of it. I mean, when you're talking about exposing problems, big-time problems that could really hurt the Watchtower, I mean, it's very much like the mafia. You don't want to rat on anything, but you might be found floating in the river. But I'm not saying that'll happen. That's just one of the thoughts I had that could have happened. So we don't know. But thank you, Jay. Thank you. Yeah. We'll have more on this. In fact, what I'm going to do coming up in September is I'm going to share a lot more things, because a lot of people still, about a 50-50 mix. 50% of the people don't believe in Johnny. They thought he was a hoax. But in September, I think it's only fair to me, if this young man is not around anymore, I feel an obligation to at least save his face and let people know some of the things he told me that I would not tell on the air, Jay. Okay?
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Okay, very good. Well, that's Jay out of New York City. Well, thank you. Thank you all for coming on with that particular program. We got to move on. We got more news items here to talk about tonight. So thank you for staying with us. We spent some time on Johnny the Bethelite. Okay, this week, Newsweek. Well, that's a pretty big newspaper, or actually magazine. It's a news magazine. People read it. They have an online Newsweek as well. Now, this week they reported, and boy, was I so glad to read this headline: a new law could open floodgates on sexual abuse in the Jehovah's Witnesses. Now, friends, I mean, that is quite the headline, and more witnesses have got to be seeing this. And the article right in Newsweek, I'll read it verbatim. We'll kind of paraphrase things. I'll give you an idea what they were saying. It started out by saying it can take years, even decades, for victims of sexual child abuse to gather the strength to come to the authorities. Well, we know that. And then by then the statute of limitations may have run out, leaving them with no legitimate recourse. So that's what was going on for years. The statute would run out, and then these victims would come forward as they got older, and they had no recourse. The statutes ran out. But now in New York, and thank you, New York, I tip my hat to you, a law went into effect it would have been last week, that could open the door to a deluge of new abuse lawsuits. And the Child Victims Act is what it was called, and this now has opened up more time to report civil and, in fact, even criminal lawsuits against those that committed sexual abuse. Now, what was brought up in the article really got my attention. There were two such suits that were mentioned in Newsweek that are targeting, guess who? The governing body of Jehovah's Witnesses. And that, of course, is the ruling council. And they are now also being named in the suit. Two people have come forward in New York, and they're alleging that they've been, it's got to go through a trial, obviously, but they're alleging that they have been abused sexually. And who is being named as the defendants? Well, that would be the governing body of Jehovah's Witnesses. That is amazing. Now, tonight on our Critical Thinking with the Professor, he will be talking in depth. He's studied this, he knows about it, he teaches this stuff in his law course in school, and he's going to share this with us tonight on that lawsuit. He went through all the records. He's going to show us exactly what took place last week and what this suit is all about. There were two people. There was a man and a woman by the name of Heather Steele. Well, she was a Jehovah's Witness young girl, and she claims in the article here in Newsweek that she was sexually abused when she was just a young little toddler. Can you imagine that? How sick could that be? And then we have a man, well, his name was Michael Ewing, and he also was Well, he also was abused and then kicked out of the organization. And I'll give you a little idea, I'll give you a little rundown on who these guys were, but they are both naming in their civil suit, which could cost the Watchtower millions, they are naming the 8 members of the governing body as defendants.
Johnny, what I'd like to do, this is your first program.
Hold on.
And we have a lot of people. Maybe just hold off asking Johnny questions right now, and then we're going to open up the lines for him. But Johnny, what I think would be good for your first inaugural program here is maybe you could just
New Haven, Connecticut, knock it off. I don't know why they put that on there. And if you do it once again, New Haven, you're going to be banned for life. We don't need that when I'm trying to do a newscast, okay? That caller was coming in from New Haven, Connecticut. And if you do it once again, I'm going to identify who you are. I'll let the people know who your telephone number is. And don't do it again, okay? It's hard enough doing a newscast here without having people spamming and coming in. So do it again, and you'll be identified, and you'll be banned, okay? All right, so let's go on. So this woman, Steele, who was in the Jehovah's Witness organization, she was saying that she was molested by an elder. The elder's name was Donald Nicholson. And this happened in the 1970s when she lived with her family in New York at age 10. And she finally told her mother, who went to the elders instead of the police. And of course they told her, as we all know, don't go to the police, leave it in Jehovah's hands. In fact, if you can even think of this, imagine now you got a little girl that has been sexually abused ever since a toddler up to the age 10. Then she gets the courage to talk to her mother, and then she is told by the elders, well, just let it go, and don't report it to the police. And then she was even told that, well, you should pray for the person that did this to you. I mean, that is just absolutely unbelievable. So eventually, this woman's parents notified the secular authorities, and Brother Nicholson, well, he served 3.5 years in prison, and then he got out, and he quietly went to another congregation, and nobody knew of his past. Now, that was one of the stories that was brought up in Newsweek. And then another story that was brought up was this man by the name of Michael Ewing. Well, he was 14 years old, and he was paired with a ministerial servant to work as a pioneer. Well, that was his pioneer partner. It was an older ministerial servant, and they were going door to door proselytizing as pioneers. Now, over the next 4 years, Michael Ewing, he says the older man raped him repeatedly, everywhere from Virginia to New York, where his case is being filed. And then at 21, Ewing reported the abuse to his father, and they went to the church, the Kingdom Hall elders, let's go with that. Now, at a religious tribunal, both he and his abuser were accused of engaging in homosexual activity and disfellowshipped, a severe form of excommunication where the family and community cut all ties. So, okay, he's abused as a little guy. An older man's raping him. They go to the witness elders, and the elders say that he and his rapist were homosexuals and disfellowshipped them both. How convenient. I mean, you could disfellowship the older man, but why Michael? So now a suit is out. Zalkin Law Firm is on the case. I'll tell you what, these guys don't have a leg to stand on. So, and that is what was on in Newsweek this week. There's a lot more going on in there. I don't have time to go through it all here tonight. But did you guys see that? This is going to be big time. Now, that statutes of limitation that is now been upped in New York, that also now can apply to people in other states. Because, let me give you the reasons, and this is what even Attorney Zalkin said, the Watchtower is headquartered in New York. So the suit takes place. If you're in Oklahoma, if you're out in Phoenix, Arizona. You're up in Seattle, Washington, and you can sue the Watchtower now up to any age. Well, 55 is about the limit, but you're now able to sue them where you had to stop at 23 before. So the statute goes up to about 52 now. So now, even if you're in Oklahoma or wherever you might be, you can come on and say, okay, Watchtower, I'm suing you. Even though it's been some time, I have the right to do it. And because they're a New York corporation, this suit now will apply to everybody across the country. Isn't that great? So, I mean, yes.
Rick, that's good for only 1 year if you read the details. It's only good for, it's open the window anywhere in the U.S. up to 1 year because of the Governor Cuomo here.
Well, okay, I mean, I might have read something a little bit different, but I know there's a 1 year window, and what I got from that, what I got from that 1 year window is from whenever it was on August 15th and whenever the bill was signed, that anybody, any age, there's a 1 year window for them to come forward and file a lawsuit against the Watchtower. Now, after that 1 year, that's
exactly right, and there's no, and anyone at any age can do it now. So everyone that's been molested and sexually abused or knows of it has an obligation to themselves to report it to the firm and get some results for whoever the victims were, or else it just gets covered up. Just to better to get these people on print so that they can be prosecuted and then have the governing body put away in prison, hopefully in the future. Thank you.
Yeah, well, right. I mean, that's an added bonus in this law. The law upped the ante or upped the time limit for the statute. The initial law, now that's going to last more than 1 year. They upped it from 23 up to, I believe it was 52 years old. You can now report in New York. But also they gave people a 1 year window. In 1 year, it doesn't matter how old you were. If you were abused and you're an 85-year-old person and some pervert in a Watchtower abused you years ago, Como is going to let at least you bring that to trial if it need be. So that's good. Thank you, Jay. All right. So that's good. I mean, I can't say that what happened this week in New York is going to be good for the Watchtower. I think they are sweating in their boots right now. How could they possibly be sleeping good tonight? There are going to be thousands of lawsuits coming against them. They're already hit with so many. As a matter of fact, what I'm going to do, I want to play I got a little film clip here. I want to play this film clip. If you're on the Six Screens video suite, you'll see it. If you're on Facebook, you'll see it. You'll hear it if you're on our radio network. Now, this is Attorney Zalkin. He did a press conference. I want you to see it. He's talking about how evil the Watchtower is. It's about a 10-minute video, but it's okay. I think it's worth listening to and watching. I'll kind of step in from time to time, and then we can get your thoughts on it later. But let me put this video up right now. I want you to see this. This is a press conference. Was just held it was about 3 days ago in New York, and this is Attorney Zalkin that will be talking. He has the two survivors, victims, whatever you want to call them, that have been abused in the Watchtower. They're next to him, and I want you to hear what they have to say. Friends, I'll tell you, my heart sank when I saw this video. I want you to see it. Let's play it right now. Let me just get it up here on the Six Screens video suite so you can see it. I know you're going to find it fascinating. Attorney Zalkin press conference right now.
Zalkin. I'm here with my co-counsel, Michael Barish, Barash of Barish, McGarry, here in New York. Thank you all for coming. We are announcing today that we will be filing 2 lawsuits on behalf of 2 victims, or I should say survivors, of sexual abuse, child sexual abuse within the Jehovah's Witness organization. And that is thankfully due to the legislature and our governor passing the Child Victims Act that our 2 clients Heather Steele and Michael Ewing had this opportunity. Now, most of you have probably heard about priest abuse and clergy abuse within the Catholic Church, but the Jehovah's Witnesses have been flying a little bit under the radar, and we want to make sure that that doesn't continue. Our law firm, the Zalkin Law Firm, has filed at least 24 lawsuits around the country, and this was probably the 25th and 26th lawsuits against the Jehovah's Witness organization, because this organization has allowed the sexual abuse of children to fester within its ranks for decades. And it has allowed it to happen because it is a very secretive and insular organization. And it's that the secretness of that organization that has allowed what I refer to as a crisis of silence. Child sexual abuse is pervasive and it is serious within this group. And these lawsuits are being filed in particular to draw attention to the governing body of the Jehovah's Witnesses. And the governing body of the Jehovah's Witnesses is like the Pope is to the Catholic Church. Their organization is headquartered in New York State. They are now in Tuxedo Park. They used to be in Brooklyn. And they manage the governing body. These 8 individual popes, if you will, are responsible for everything that happens within that organization. They call the shots. They dictate policies and procedures that are to be followed by all of the elders in some 14,000 congregations in the United States. Now, just to give you a sense of the depth and the breadth of the problem, in Australia, in 2017, a government-appointed royal commission investigated the Jehovah's Witnesses there, a population of about 67,000, and determined that there were 1,800 molested children and about 1,000 perpetrators. Now translate that to the United States, where we have, about 2 million Jehovah's Witnesses. Our firm discovered very early on in our litigation that the Jehovah's Witnesses maintain a database of known child molesters that dates back decades. At first, they lied to us in the reports and said they had no such database. But through persistence, we learned that they do in fact have a Microsoft SharePoint database that is searchable, and now they've been ordered to produce these documents. And they have refused court orders repeatedly, and to this day have never produced in compliance with court orders. They're taking the issue to the United States Supreme Court. We, of course, will be opposing it. Now, in the case of Michael and Heather, their stories are unfortunately too typical of what we see within the Jehovah's Witnesses. And they're going to tell you a little bit about their story.
Well, you're listening to Attorney Zalkin. Well, he's with a law firm that is suing the Watchtower. He's already had a number of cases that he successfully has won, 24 cases or so, and now this is going to make it upwards of 26. But he's in a room in New York. It's a press conference. It was on Fox News. It was on Newsweek. It was all over. Many people saw it. The public is now aware. Boy, thank you, Attorney Zalkin, for really spilling the beans on the Watchtower here. This is wonderful. So that's what you're listening to. So this was a press conference that was held on the 15th, I believe it was Thursday or Friday last week in New York City. And he's really giving the city a mouthful on how evil the Watchtower is. So this new law that was put into place by Governor Cuomo, and thank him as well, putting this new law that is actually extending the statute of limitations for child abuse, according to Attorney Zalkin, it's going to really, really make a big difference in exposing the Watchtower as well as other people. So, Attorney Zalkin, we thank you. Okay, so I'm just going to play a little more. I want you to hear, there is, in fact, if you're on the 6 Screens video suite, you can see the two people sitting next to the attorney. That is Michael Hewing and Sister Steele. And they have a story to tell. They're not going to go into it all the way, but just listen to what they have to say. And then I want to open the lines up. I want to talk about this, but the professor coming up next. Wow, he has got a program and a half. You don't want to miss that. He's going to really dissect this lawsuit. He knows where the bones are buried. So let's hear what the rest of this video is all about.
Stories. Michael, who's 48, was sexually abused. 47. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to go over 47. Who was sexually abused when he was 14 years old and carried on for about 3 years. His parents were very close. His father was an elder to another family, and the perpetrator was a ministerial servant, which is equivalent to a deacon, more or less. And because of that close relationship, Michael Rust, this perpetrator, gained access to Michael Ewing, our client. And it was the Jehovah's Witnesses, so you know, they live in this sort of parallel universe. They believe that they live in what they call the truth. And the rest of us, we live in this outside world contaminated by Satan, and they find us to be what they refer to as bad association. So they don't really associate with the outside world other than what is necessary, of course, to go to work or go to school, but they are very insular and very close with each other, and they are taught since they're little children that they are to obey without question the elders and the leadership of their congregation, and certainly of the hierarchy of the organization. And you'll notice I keep calling it an organization. They do not call themselves a church. They do call themselves an organization. Go to jw.org. So Michael was molested by Mike Rust for 3 years. And at some point, when Michael was 21 years old, and he could no longer take the pain that caused him, the embarrassment, the shame that he was feeling, he disclosed that abuse. And the elders were advised of that. And they conducted their judicial committee, this tribunal that they conduct. And what was the result? Michael was disfellowshipped, which is the equivalent of being excommunicated. Why? Because at the age of 14...
Well, maybe we'll stop right there. I mean, the program goes on for about another 6 minutes, but that might be enough. I mean, you guys get the point. You get the point. There he is. That, of course, is Attorney Zalkin. Kudos to him. And this is going to open up so many doors. People are going to be coming forward and suing the Watchtower big time. People who even the statute has run out will now be able to come forward, because reading, in fact, last week and some of the information on people that have been molested, they generally won't come forth until they're in their 50s. I think you can understand that. I mean, even myself, stop and think about it. And I want to first of all say that it's sad, and my heart goes out to anybody that was ever molested by anybody. Never mind just even the witnesses, by anybody. It's a terrible thing to live with. But my heart goes out for anyone that was molested, and the Watchtower actually is doing everything they can to suppress this, saying to the people that are coming forward, well, maybe you're just making this up, maybe you're just thinking of it, maybe it really didn't happen. How evil and how heinous. But boy, I'll tell you, Watchtower's days have got to be numbered. They really do. You're talking millions and millions of dollars here. I mean, even as rich as we might seem to think the Watchtower is, there's no way that they're going to be able to pay all of this money out and survive as an organization as we know it. Well, who'd like to speak up and talk? You guys heard this all this week, I'm sure. You've seen some of these YouTube videos. Yes.
Yeah, this is Thomas Hodgson in Lawrence, Kansas.
Yes, Thomas.
You know, I'm very happy to hear that we've gotten this far. We all knew that someday these things were going to come this far and further. And I think the Watchtower really, really knew this for a long time. And I really believe in my heart that this is why they left Brooklyn Bethel, because of the terrible embarrassment and shame. They thought, well, maybe they would just divide up the booty and get out of Dodge, you know, try to recoup some of this money before it gets away from them, and just kind of hide out there in the sticks in a prison-like environment where they have all these iron gates and guards. You talk through like you're in a prison to people on the outside from the building. It's just crazy. But I think they really knew that all this stuff was going to come. But I bet the governing body's really shaking in their boots now. There may come a day when they handcuff them and take them to prison where they really rightfully belong. And I think we're going to see some things done about the pedophilia. And I think even the shunning is going to be the next thing right on the agenda, because it really ties in well with all this other corruption they were involved with. You know, how they started shunning even the victims, mistreating them and calling them liars, so they're slandering and all this kind of stuff. So it's going to bite them really good, I'm telling you.
Well, good for you, Thomas. Now look at you. I give you gold star. Great comment, because that's exactly what I was thinking this week when Dick Borgie and I were down in Brooklyn, and I'm looking at the world headquarters where it used to be and all the buildings, and I'm saying, you know something, Dick? They got out of here because you got all the major news stations, NBC, CBS, Fox News. Man, they're neighbors. They can be there in 5 minutes. And I'm saying they can't be around and be investigated. They got to get out of here. So you're absolutely right. They divided up the booty, and out they went, moved up to a compound in Warwick, and hopefully, I mean, they got gates up there, they got sprinklers. If anybody tries to even get there, you're not going to get in there. The news media can drive around all they want. They won't get in. But in Bethel, in Brooklyn, you know, Bethelites are walking around. The news trucks could be seen. It could make for a bad scene. Let's go with that. So you're right on the ball. Thank you, Tom. All right, any other thoughts? What do you think? You think the Watchtower is going to get their pantsuit off of them? You think this, what happened in the last week here in New York, is going to make any difference? Or you think it's just going to be status quo? Do you think the Watchtower has anything to worry about? I mean, how about this attorney Zalkin? You think he's just a cream puff? I don't think so. I think this guy's going to go for the jugular vein. But now also, and you're going to hear that the program coming up next, with the professor, the governing body are now being named as defendants. We have never seen that in a lawsuit against the witnesses. So they're going to have to show up. And I'm sure they're going to drag their feet, and they're going to come up with every excuse possible. Well, that 2-witness rule wasn't made up by us. That's been going on for a long time. And, you know, we really are working in departments that don't handle this. I don't think it's going to be that easy. I really don't. I believe that the Watchtower here is in a pickle, and boy, I'll tell you what, to see the governing body in a court trial would give me the opportunity to do the happy dance. There's no question. I would love to see that. These guys are bums. And let me tell you something. You know, when Johnny was on the last program, he talked about this sex ring. I wouldn't put it past the governing body or any high officials in the Watchtower. Johnny was not telling a lie. These guys, like all these big-time politicians, and like this Jeffrey Epstein, you saw him in the news all last week, the guy that committed suicide in his jail cell, sex trafficking, sex with young girls. This is what the big guys do, including the Watchtower. And Johnny started spilling the beans, and now we haven't heard from him. Going on 9 months. So you read into it what you want, but we have a lot to talk about with Johnny coming up in 2 months. All right, who'd like to say anything at all on this sex lawsuit? You think it's going to make a big difference in exposing their evils, or you think it'll just blow over? What do you think? Speak up.
Hello.
Go ahead.
Hello, Rick.
Yes.
Hi, Rick. This is Constance.
Well,
Thank
hello.
you for taking my
Hello,
call.
Constance. Always good to hear from you. You radiate confidence.
Oh, honey, thank you. I missed you guys last week. I was on vacation, so it's really great to be on and say hello to everyone tonight. Rick, I had it all over my Facebook page, and I have a lot of friends that are not JWs. I was just exposing, the wickedness of Watchtower, and it was amazing how many people commented. But, we all need to come together and just blow off the socks of Watchtower. And like they say, they're going to be scrambling around the governing body like a bunch of cockroaches, Rick, because they are being exposed. I mean, I'm here in the Sacramento region of California, and there were 3 episodes on Channel 3 KCRA with regards to 13 ex-JWs who were sexually abused. It was called Silent No More, was the name of the segment, and it was 3 nights in a row. Candace Conti was on there, Cameron Torres, Smurf Girl, and I'm not sure who the other ones were, but they were all ex-JWs. And just, Rick, just coming together as a united voice and expressing their pain and exposing the wickedness of Watchtower. And people just want to have justice. That's what they really, really want out of all this. But one other comment, Rick, I'd like to really make being here in California. Actually, 2 comments, if you don't mind. I'll be brief. Erwin Zalkin is a Jewish attorney, okay? And Jewish people are brilliant, Rick. We know that. Nobel Peace Prize. I mean, they're just brilliant people. And Erwin Zalkin started off in before coming down on Watchtower, because he was the attorney that was taking down the Catholic Church with all of the children being sexually abused inside the Catholic Church. To me, Rick, it's like a David and Goliath situation. I mean, he's fearless, he and his whole team. Well, he was so successful, now he's taken on Watchtower. And I didn't see that clip until you just posted it when he went to New York, and I thought that was awesome. But the other thing I wanted to say with regards to Erwin Zalkin, Rick, is, he went to court and Watchtower had to turn over the database. And, of course, they refused, which you mentioned in your clip. And Watchtower was being charged $4,000 a day, and they kept ringing it up the bill, to, I don't know, millions, was my understanding. But this is my point. Watchtower, Erwin Zalkin just said that Watchtower is going to take that to the Supreme Court. Isn't that interesting, Rick? And yet, Erwin Zalkin's going to appeal it. He's going to fight it. But Watchtower has such an arrogant attitude. They're so self-righteous, sitting in their white ivory tower of wickedness, that they think that, they're going to be able to have the Supreme Court. I don't know if it's the Supreme Court of California or the Supreme Court of the United States. And they want to be able to get away with their actions and not having to turn over the database. I think it's going to be fascinating, Rick. I can't wait to see how it all turns out. And I bet the governing body members are running around like a bunch of cockroaches hiding. So thank you, Rick.
Well, thank you, Constance. And, the thing is, I mean, we're all human here. And we have all had times in our life where we saw a dreaded condition on the horizon. All of us have, right? Mm-hmm. Whatever it would be.
Right.
Maybe we had a sick relative, or maybe we're going to lose a job, or maybe a family member. There's always a time in human life where it's pretty dreaded. It doesn't look good. Well, sometimes you don't come on like, the world is falling down on you. You try to maintain your composure. You try to maintain a good thought and feeling in life, but right now the Watchtower is doing that. They're really trying to make it appear to the public like there's no problems, we're doing great, everything's wonderful. These guys are sweating bullets. There's no question. They are on the verge of a major collapse. And I'm just not looking through rose-colored glasses here. We've been doing this program for 15 years. And I have to say that we are getting points on the scoreboard. We're starting to we are starting to win the game. This is
I love it, Rick. I love it.
Yeah. Well, no, we are. We're starting to win the game here. These so-called mentally diseased apostates, they put their team together. We're now getting some home runs here. We're getting some points on the board. So this is wonderful. I love this news. I mean, I've been excited all day. This, after doing this program 15 years ago, it was dull and boring. I had nothing to talk about. But I don't think we're even going to be able to get through all the news tonight. This is just unbelievable. Yes.
Well, I almost called you during the week, Rick, and said, "Oh my gosh, Rick, I can't wait till Saturday night because it's going to be a show of all shows. We're all going to be doing our happy dances."
You got it. Well, hang in there. I mean, I'm getting the party horns ready, the little pointed hats. It's only a matter of time. I want a front row seat. When this thing goes down. And, hey, I always say the monkey died, the circus is over. We're going to see this happen. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. Thank you, Constance. Thank you.
Rick.
All right.
Thank you,
there you go. So there you go. That's Constance. Yes.
Don't mean to interrupt. This is Thomas Hodgson.
Yes, Thomas. Yes.
I'm thinking, now, what's all the Jehovah's Witnesses going to think when they hear about all this news? You think a lot of them will believe it? You think they'll go along with it? You think there'll be a big exodus? I mean, boy, they got some explaining to do. This little old dumpy Watchtower lesson they had a while back for a couple weeks, that's just a little old whitewash. That's not going to make no sense when they hear about all this stuff. They're going to have to hear. They're going to hear it from all over. It's going to be on the news. It's going to be in the magazines. People are going to be talking about it. They're not even going to want to do anything but hide their faces instead of go door to door.
Thomas, they're already doing it. And I got some news coming up here tonight that will show that. I've got 2 more conventions to talk about on the news tonight that are tanking. And this is what's going on. People are not even coming to the conventions anymore. I'm going to talk about that coming up, a couple more stories coming up. But, I mean, it's already happening. They're trying to, in every way, make this organization look like, wow, Jehovah's Chariot is on the run. It's got a flat tire. It's got a couple of flat tires.
You think,
you
think when they start going with this theocratic war strategy, their members come up with all these real stupid excuses, do you think these people are really going to believe that when they hear all this stuff? I just can't even imagine. I just wish Mark Powell could have sued them.
Well, in fact, he could have, and he asked me, 4 years ago, but I said, Mark, the statutes ran out. I checked it in New York, and now he could have done it now. And who knows, but I know a lot of people are going to come forward. Yeah. But it's all, what we're saying here tonight is all good news, and I have to tell you really that not all the witnesses are buying it. This year, 2019, is going to go down in the history of more people leaving the Watchtower than ever before in the history. So that's good.
I love it.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I hope Romy sues them.
Oh, I'll tell you, it's all good, but I'll tell you, well, you stay tuned because we've got more good things to talk about coming up here tonight on the 6 Reigns. Thank you, Thomas.
Oh, man.
All right. So,
Rick, it's Matthew.
Oh, Matthew, how are you? From Australia.
Very good. Yes, I said it's a momentous program for us, and we're very excited. I was talking to Constant just the other day, and so we are very excited about what's happening. I think your comment about whether the real deal or will there be any change, I think if we look at it from a corporate point of view, is a multi-billion-dollar company can handle a certain amount of litigation. But I think there's a tipping point, and I think that they have reached the point where their brand is so damaged that nobody in the Western world wants to have anything to do with them, and also they know only need a small percentage of the lawsuits to go through And two things are going to happen with the case in New York is that the top levels of the organisation are going to be personally responsible, so they're going to be sent to prison. There's no doubt about that. Someone's going. We had in Australia, we had the second, well, he was an Australian, but basically the third highest to the Pope was sent to prison for his child sex abuse, and he was sent from the Vatican back to Australia. So this, with Zolkin and his work with the Catholic Church, Rick, is this has armed him to be able to make sure that there is no haven for the top echelons of the Watchtower Society to get away with it. And as has been mentioned, they are selling off Kingdom Halls left, right and centre. But one thing I will notify is that what's happening in Australia is they're doing a lot of renovating. And they're telling people they're not, the Kingdom Halls are not up to the building codes. But what I think is happening is they're just bringing everything up to code, up to health specifications and building codes. And I believe before any cases really reach their time, now they're going to sell off at least 60% of their assets, and they're going to be moved into tax havens. So that's all I'd like to say, Rick. And thank you, and sending unconditional love to all fellow apostates around the world. Love from Australia. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Matthew. Now, look, I saw your little message coming through the other day. I was down in Brooklyn, but I'm going to get you on and tell you a story here in the next couple of weeks. I'll be talking to you about that, okay?
Thank you. Thank you. God bless, mate. Thank you.
Good man.
Bye.
Thank that. That's our good friend Matthew over there in Australia. Well, he's on our team. He knows what's going on. He knows what's going on behind the curtains of the Watchtower. Boy, I will tell you what. Well, let's move on. We got more stories to talk about here tonight. Well, let's get in there and take a look, and let's see exactly. Yes.
I'm sorry, I was just trying to see if I can get in before.
Oh, no problem. Absolutely, Anne-Marie. What do you think?
Well, with what Thomas said, and you verified, I agree with what Thomas said. I was just picturing how the witnesses were protesting outside of the headquarters in Brooklyn when it became obvious that they were not going to acknowledge their false prophecy of the 1975 Armageddon prediction that they had, and how many people had their lives ruined because they believed it, and the shunning and the horrible things they were enduring. And just like Thomas said, they don't want to face that. I mean, they were so easy where you could just protest outside, and now they're way up there in their compound with their gates and their guard dogs. Yeah, so I agree with Thomas completely. And the other thing is, with this issue becoming so clear, with the pedophile problem becoming more and more publicized, I feel like it's like they have been taking the abuse of all of these children, and it's like you have a septic tank, and the sewage is just hidden and buried and hidden and buried. But, you know, there's a point where it's going to break and it's going to overflow, and then everybody's going to see it and everybody's going to smell it. And I think that's just a good metaphor for what's happening. Thank you, Rick.
Well, that's an excellent metaphor. And, you know, because the stink can get worse, and it's getting worse. We are really starting to smell the evils of the Watchtower. Thank you, Anne-Marie. All right, well, let's take yes.
Well, before you get one thought, we have to go to the next situation. What the brother from Australia was talking about, we were talking about that 10 years ago, and how the Watchtower would come in and say, well, you need to bring everything up to sanitation codes and all this. And the brother would say, well, why? You know, we grandfathered it. Doesn't matter. You know, we have to obey Caesar's law. The idea was to make that Kingdom Hall sellable, so it would be right up to snuff, and they knew the brothers would throw free labor into it, and they knew, in years to come, that Kingdom Hall will be sold. Thank you.
Well, there you go. In fact, Dick, I want you to know, too, that we had a good trip down to Brooklyn. Dick Borgie was with me. We had a great time. You left your hat in my car, and I got your Yankee I got your Yankee little card too as well. Okay. So
don't tell anybody I got the Yankee card.
No, well, I got that, so that's fine. Yeah, Dick Borg and I went to a Yankees game at Yankee Stadium along with my father, who's 96 years old, while we were down there in New York. So that's good. Thank you, Dick. All right, so let's take a look here. Let's see what else is going on. But I'll tell you what, I'm reading stories here. I hope we can get to them all tonight. Now, this one really shocked me, but I knew this was going to happen, and I know that Thomas Hodgkins, if he's still listening in, I know he's going to think about this because he's brought this up. I mean, I'm not in any way encouraging anybody to go out and do this, but this week, in the last couple of days, a caller called into a Kingdom Hall in Lower Manhattan, New York, and he threatened the Jehovah's Witnesses. I don't want to read you his, it's very, they blocked out some of the words. I mean, he was swearing left and right, but an unhinged caller threatened to shoot every mother, okay? It's right in the newspaper. I'm reading this. He wanted to shoot everybody in the Kingdom Hall, and he says that they ruined his life, and he was going to come down to the Kingdom Hall and shoot every mother. Okay, you got what I'm talking about. And he said that that's it, and if he doesn't get you at the Kingdom Hall, he's going to get you elsewhere. So, anyways, representative of the Watchtower, they reported this to the cops, and they said they did not recognize the voice of the caller, and police deemed the threat as a hate crime, and they're investigating it as we speak. So here we have now a caller calling the telephone line and leaving a message at the Kingdom Hall that he's going to come in there and shoot everybody. Now look, I would never want any people listening in here on the Six Screens to do that. But these are the type of things that are going on. The Watchtower is ticking people off left and right. So now we have this as a news article, a major news article all over the internet, that he wants to come in and shoot the witnesses up. So I would be, I would be afraid to bring my family there at that Kingdom Hall if I knew that. And then even to follow this story up further, there was an announcement. Evidently they're receiving a lot of threats lately. And, they're hurting so many people, breaking up families, children committing suicide. Many people are becoming very agitated because of the policies of the Watchtower. So now I got another story here. It's coming from a PMO. That of course, is a person that's physically in, mentally out. They don't believe this anymore. But there was an announcement that was made in the Kingdom Hall. In fact, I'm sorry, it was made at the St. Louis International Convention, and there was recently the announcement said that there's a brother who isn't a brother and should not be in this convention hall. Now, what would you do if you heard an announcement like that? Would that shake you up? Geez, all of a sudden I'd start thinking of mass murders and everything else that's been going on in the news lately. So they have a picture of him. But that's basically all they said. They feel that he's a fellow apostate, evidently, and they are expressing their thoughts to be on the lookout for this person. Now, isn't that something? When did you ever hear a story like that? So we have a Kingdom Hall being threatened. We have another announcement being made that we have a person that shouldn't be in here at our convention, and evidently they were thinking this person could pose a threat as well. Is this something that's going to continue to happen? I'm just thinking, as long as the witnesses continue their rant and calling people mentally diseased and breaking their families up, I don't advocate this in any way, but it's going to continue. I think more and more threats are going to be made. Now, would you go to a Kingdom Hall if someone announced to you that, you want to be careful and make sure that you don't come here thinking everything is safe? Basically, that's what they're saying. If they're going to tell you that we've had threats on this hall, how would you feel about it? Would you feel comfortable going to a Kingdom Hall that had a threat? What do you think? Did you ever have anything like that go on in your Kingdom Hall when you were a witness? I'd like to hear from you, so go ahead, speak up. Well, I know I did when I was living in Florida. I was on the security team. I was on the security team, and we were told to be on the lookout for a person that was going to come by and storm the Kingdom Hall and perhaps cause some problems. So I had to go out and check the parking lot and make sure there's no suspicious activity. At the same time, we have two brothers sitting right at the door where people were coming in to make sure that the right people were coming in. So the witnesses are really starting to feel some heat here. They've heard a lot of people, and now they're beginning to get a lot of threats. Boy, I'll tell you what. I'd be nervous. I would really be nervous hearing announcements like that.
Rick?
Yes.
Yeah, I have a story if you want to hear it.
Of course. Go ahead.
From Lower Manhattan, actually. I remember there was a sister who was mentally ill, and she was constantly going into the hall. I was there, and I remember there was a street guy who threatened to rape her. She ran in screaming. I followed in, and then I told the guy, "You got to step outside. You're going to get hurt." Which they usually don't. I'm direct that way with people. I don't play. I don't double talk. He went outside. He was yelling and screaming. At the end, the result was he took off. The elders were, they were surprised. They wouldn't let this girl go in, but yet they took her magazine reports. They let her stand outside the hall. They wouldn't let her go for mental health treatment. So when you're going to give this kind of mixed messages to people, if anything, I don't even know if this report is true, what you're telling me. I wouldn't be surprised if the elders are calling it in and saying it's someone else, because don't they have a number on the other end, you know what I'm saying?
Well, absolutely. I mean, Jay, if you were a Kingdom Hall attender right now, you'd be concerned about this. I'm sure you would be. Thank you. Thank you. All right. Well, we got another story to talk about here tonight on JW World News. The news the Watchtower doesn't want you talking about. I don't know if you caught this or not. In the November 2019 Watchtower Study Edition, well, more fear-mongering is going on. There are some pictures in the Watchtower. I'm going to show you the pictures, and we can talk about it. The Watchtower is obviously saying that you got to be careful watching television news in this article, and you want to make sure that if something comes on that is against the Watchtower, you immediately turn it off. Absolutely unbelievable that this cult is starting to really use fear more than ever before, really, as long as I can remember. So they're saying to apostates, if you're watching television in this article and something comes on that's negative about the Watchtower, turn it immediately off. Unbelievable. The pictures. First of all, let me put the pictures up. So you guys can see the picture. Obviously, we showed pictures here before on the 6 screens of the witnesses in a bunker. Now, this picture is quite different, and let's see if we can't pick out some things in this picture that are a little different than most. In fact, well, let's first of all show you this picture right here. This is a picture I want you to see. Let me put it up on 6 screens so you'll be able to see this. Just give me a second. Just a one-man operation here, so I think you can see that. Well, you can't see it too good, but you can see it somewhat. Well, there you go. There's a picture in this Watchtower article, and it's showing a bunch of witnesses. Well, we've seen them in the cellar before. Now we see them in the attic. So they're in someone's attic, and there they are. Look at all of them smiling, and they're together, and they're reading their Watchtower or their Bibles. So this is a picture depicting them hiding from the stormtroopers. Geez, they got to continue to do this, and that, of course, puts fear in the mind of the witness. So what is this all about? Now, here's another picture I want to show you. Now, you see them right there. This is in that Watchtower we're discussing right now. And you see the brother. He's got his family, his daughter, his son, his wife. and he's shutting the TV off. And in the article, they're saying that if you see anything about Jehovah's Witnesses on the news, shut it off. Well, isn't that very timely? In time with this, all the news articles about the Jehovah's Witnesses in New York, then it shows the brother and sister there studying. This is nothing but propaganda. This is absolutely unbelievable that they do this. But that's what the Watchtower does. And they continue to try to scare people through their tactics. But what I was thinking about here is this is nothing new. As long as I've been in the Watchtower, they've always scared people. Scared people. Don't answer the mail if there's an apostate letter. Remember they had a picture in the Awake magazine of the sister dropping the letter in the junk box. Okay. Well, that's exactly the same thing that's going on here. They're really putting a lot of fear into the people's minds. And it's interesting how all the pictures that I see, these witnesses as of late in bunkers, in the attic, all the men, they have, they're clean shaving, they have pressed trousers, the women have their hair all done up with makeup on. And I just can't see that this picture is so phony. I mean, can you imagine a picture kind of hiding yourself from stormtroopers coming in to kill you, so to speak, and yet the women have their hair done and their makeup on? This is crazy. I mean, Jehovah's Witnesses, they're hiding from these troopers, so to speak, and we've showed pictures before of them hiding in basements, and now they're in an attic. I guess the witness world is still trying to find a perfect place for the witnesses to hide when they're going to be terrorized by their predators. So I'm just thinking it's crazy if you stop and think about some of this stuff. And also I'm thinking, where would the witnesses, think about this, where would the witnesses go to the bathroom? I mean, that's what I'm thinking. So they're all, there's 15, 20 witnesses all huddled up in an attic, hiding from the stormtroopers that are going to come in and destroy them or kill them or persecute them or whatever. But where do they go to the bathroom? What, they got a bucket up there or something? I can't figure out that. And they all look so great and dressed up and looking great. I mean, if you're hiding out in an attic somewhere, I mean, are you worried about putting makeup on? Are you worried about, clean trousers? You're just fighting for your life. So I don't know where they would go to the bathroom. Maybe they would pass a bucket along, but I mean, how gross would that be? So, I mean, what do you guys think? Well, what do you think of this picture? Have you seen the picture in this crazy November 2019 Watchtower? And I think it's really disgusting that the Watchtower is saying, if you see anything on TV, shut it immediately off. These are some of the news articles coming across like we talked about tonight in New York and other places, but they're told just shut it off. Don't even listen to it. So, do you think this is all new? Do you think they're really upping the ante here? Or I'm looking that they're really concerned. What do you guys think? The Watchtower is really stressed out lately.
Did you actually say that you think that the Watchtower might be really concerned? Did you really just say that?
Well, I did say that. I mean, I'm saying it kind of in jest, but they are concerned, Anne-Marie,
While they're crying about, you better get your go bags ready and have your little place to hide all figured out. Since they're so actually giving attention to detail, do they have outhouses? Or I wonder, I never thought about that, Rick. Where they go potty?
Well, no, I see them all up there huddled in an attic. There had to be, as I showed the picture on the 6 Screens video suite, there had to be, 15 up there. They all, the women got their hair all done up nice. They got makeup on. These are supposed to be turbulent times. I mean, you don't have to look good when the enemy's coming after you, for goodness sakes. But then, the other thought, in fact, I know they have all kinds of rules on how to act during the tribulation, so I kind of came up with this rule myself. It would be Great Tribulation Survival Tip number 238. Don't assume that Mountain Dew in the plastic bottle being passed to you is Mountain Dew. if you get the gist. So, I mean, people are going, where are you going to go to the bathroom? I guess in a bottle. So this is just, are the witnesses asking questions like this? The Jehovah's Witnesses, that is the organization, they want to make sure that the rank and file don't feel safe anywhere. I mean, they've had them in the basement, they've had them in these bunkers. Now they get them up in an attic. They don't want you watching TV any longer. They just want you watching JW Broadcasting. So I see that really the Watchtower is concerned with what Jehovah's Witnesses are listening to. And boy, they are really making it known to the witnesses that don't listen to a thing. You hear someone come across on the television, shut it right off. And they have a picture there in the November 19 Watchtower Study Edition of a brother, and he's got his 2 children, teenage children, along with his wife, and he's clicking the picture right off as soon as it comes on. Unreal.
Sorry.
Unbelievable. So, I mean, these are the type of things the Watchtower is doing. They are trying to really do everything they can to stop people seeing anything about what's going on in the real news. All right, let's go to the next story. Let's go to this next story. I find this very, very fascinating. This one here is really good. And it has to do with, well, where is it here? Let me see where it is. Well, where is it? My goodness, I had it right here. It has to do with, well, anyways, conventions. And more pictures coming in from the conventions. It's absolutely unbelievable how many seats are empty at conventions around the country. Let's take a look at Fresno, or I guess it's Frisno, not to be confused with Fresno, California, but this is Frisco, I guess it is, Texas. Let's take a look at this. I want you to see a picture. At the convention there were only 2,450, and this was taken on Friday at 11 a.m. Well, let me put the picture up. I want you to see the picture. Let me just get into my pictures here on my computer, and I want you to see the picture. I want you to see how empty things look lately. My goodness gracious. I don't know how much longer the witnesses can pull this off, that, oh, everything is hunky-dory. Boy, we have more people than ever. That's why they get rid of the yearbook. They can't keep, suggesting this organization's growing when, when shared pictures are showing a big difference and they're not growing. So let me just make sure I got the right thing here. New folder, okay. Okay, let's get in here. I want you to see the picture. Just give me a second. And I have to scroll down. But I'm just a one-man operation here, so bear with me. And I'm sure that if you guys know people going to the assemblies, conventions this summer, the same thing. There's not a lot of people there. It's empty. It's not like it used to be years ago. You had a hard time even finding a seat back when in the 70s and 80s. But this picture here really spoke volumes. And if I can just find it here, just give me a second. Someone want to say something? Go ahead. While I'm looking up this, go ahead. You want to say something? That's fine and dandy. Let's find the picture. I think, well, that's not it there. Boy, I'll tell you, this always happens to me. Always trying to find the picture. Well, I'm going to show you one picture, then we'll try to find the other picture. Oh, this is terrible. All right, well, just bear with. But anyways, the picture was from Fresno, Texas. All the empty seats. The arena seats 6,000 people. There was only 2,000 something people there. So that was something else. Then we have another picture here from this picture here. I believe was from North Carolina. If you see that on your video suite, you can see it. There's a lot of empty seats. That's Raleigh, North Carolina. So that convention also did not have a lot of people. You can see it on Facebook. You can see it right there. You can see all the empty seats, even all around the arena. So that's something. The conventions are tanking, friends. They are really tanking. I want to try to find this other picture. Just give me a couple of seconds. I have so many pictures in my file, but I want you guys to see it. It was so empty, even down in the front row. Usually in the front row, you know, on the floor, I should say, you see a lot of people sitting there, but not necessarily. Let me see if this might be it. Okay, that's it. I think you can see it now. So there's a picture that is coming in from Frisco, Texas. Now look at down there on the front row. I mean, it's so empty, and this is 11 o'clock on Friday morning. Look around the stadium. It just absolutely, see if I can make it bigger so you guys can see it a little better. It's just absolutely, there's nothing. Take a look down, take a look at all those empty seats. Take a look at all those empty seats. I can't believe it. This is during the session. So this is what's going on right now in the Watchtower. People are not showing up at the conventions. The PMO class, those people that are, you know, physically in, mentally out there, some of them are still going, but now many are just saying, that's it, I've had enough. Have you ever seen a convention with that little attendance? I never have. This is absolutely crazy, folks. But this is good news. This is good news for what we see here at the 6 Screens. So, what do you guys think? I mean, do you think, first of all, do you think that meeting attendance is a catalyst? Is there anything that we can read from meeting attendance that should raise our antennas? What do you think?
Yeah, good evening, Mr. Farron.
Yes, Ken.
Yeah, well, we look, relating to the last, just touching on the last 2 stories here on this one, for one thing, the Watchtower Society always likes to tell people, how many people are getting in there. They never tell anybody how many comes out and so forth. That's part of the reason right now. And the next thing that I want to comment on is just relating to the last story. The Watchtower Society wants their members to hear only their side of the story. They don't want you to listen to anybody else and so forth, because the minute that these people start listening to the other side of the story and all that, the Watchtower Society is exposed, and they get to the real truth and so forth. But the evidence is right now that the Watchtower Societies, like you said earlier, and the meeting attendance, they're all tanking, and they're going to continue to tank and so forth. And so that's good news for us anyway.
Well, that it is, Ken. That it is. My goodness, the more times we can see the Watchtower at these conventions having little people show up, smaller amounts of people show up, that shows that it's not a good sign. They would love to fill all those arenas. Well, Ken, I'm glad you called in. We had a good program tonight. It's a lot of news. We still haven't been able to cover it all. But if you guys come in tomorrow, we'll be able to talk more about this on our 6 Screen Sunday program. And I know that many people are busy on Sunday, but I'll tell you what, we do the news at 2 o'clock, and it's more of a informal. We lighten up a little bit, and we talk a little bit more to the callers coming in on Sunday for our JW World News Sunday edition. So if you can make it tomorrow at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we'd love to have you come in and talk with us. And of course we have other programs too. Now, you know, on Sunday we take a little bit different feel. On Saturday night we don't preach to anybody. We wouldn't do that, because I know so many people have been so spiritually abused in the Watchtower that they don't want to hear anything at all about spirituality. But if you're a person out there and you say, gee, you know, I don't want to leave God behind, you want to learn a little more about spirituality after people leave the Watchtower, well, come in tomorrow. Of course, beginning at 2 with JW World News. Then 3 o'clock we have Coach East Pendleton. He wrote the book. He's a former Jehovah's Witness. He wrote the book, The Bible versus the Watchtower. And then Jay Hess comes on at 4, Making Disciples with Jay. And Jay is a former, he was associated with the writing department of the Watchtower. And he'll be on with us tomorrow at 4 o'clock answering Bible questions. Now, tomorrow on Coach East's program at 3, he's going to be showing you that disfellowshipping is not scriptural. So if you want to join us tomorrow, I think you'll find that really, really fascinating. I know it's not for everybody, and I know a lot of people don't want to even learn about this, but if you can muster up the courage and visit us on a Sunday, that would be wonderful. Thank you. Okay, so now you are right up to date on what's going on behind the curtains of the Watchtower. I want you guys to keep standing tall. I don't want you to ever give in, up, or out. And by all means, never let your visions die. And the last one, leaving the Watchtower, please turn off the new light. We'll be going to the professor. Now, if you haven't heard some of the other programs here on 6 Screens, the professor is coming up next. And he is a University of New York professor. He teaches critical thinking and critical writing. And he has examined in depth the Watchtower lawsuit, the recent one in New York by the Zalkin law firm. He's going to be coming up tonight talking all about that and the ramifications of it. And he feels this is really going to be a lawsuit that could hurt the Watchtower because they're going right for the governing body. The governing body is named defendants. So he's going to be talking all about that. He's going to give his spin. So by all means, listen to him here tonight. And then, of course, we got coming up at 11 o'clock with Larry John Wayne. He helps us a lot here at night. And he's got a light and lively program. So listening to Larry, he'll be coming on later at 11. And then at 2 o'clock in the morning, 2 a.m., we go to wee hours in the morning. I'll tell you what, listen to that program. If you can't sleep and you get up in the middle of the night and you say, wow, I got to do something, listen to 6 Screens, wee hours of the wee hours of the morning. So by all means, check that out. I think you'll find it very, very interesting. A lot of the people that call into the program, they talk about all of the things they're faced with in everyday life. They let their hair down, and you'll find them really, really interesting to listen to. So anyways, we're going to the professor's program right now. Stay with us. Let me put JW World News in the archives, and stay with us. So let's do that right now. Let me get in here. Just give us a second. Okay, we got some background noise here, but it's okay. All right. Everyone mute your phones if you would. Just mute your phones, and then we get all this background noise. It makes it so difficult. Just mute your phones. All right, let's go to the professor. All right, just give it a second for the recorder to stop. These are being put into the archives. This program will be in the archives. Rick Farron Archives. Come on, computer, let's go. A little slow tonight. Okay. All right.
You're on the 6 Screens Telenetwork, earning the reputation of giving all the right ingredients, uninhibited, in exposing the hard, cold facts about the Watchtower Society. And now, in Disney.
I took myself down to the Tally-Ho Tavern to buy me a bottle of beer.